Hello, my people. It is officially spooky season, folks. One of my personal favorite times of the year. One where, thankfully, I'm not sweating my balls off like many of us were during the summer. But thankfully, not only do we get a break from the hot as hell heat the summer brought us, but we can also finally get our spook on. And I think I know someone who can agree with me on that. Yep, I'm looking at you, Benny boy.
Electromagnetic body. Sweet.
Which of course leads to the topic of today's video. I think this is the perfect opportunity of continuing our series of elemental infused aliens. I recommend watching the first video, link is in the description below. Which is actually one of my best videos because it's got like 223 views and 12 likes, what the hell? And since this is October, I figure what better choice of aliens than the Anur Aliens. And I intend to go through every one of them. From the canonical aliens like Ghost Freak, Blitzwolfer, Snarrow, Frankenstrike, and Vampire, to the non-canonical ones such as Lagoon, Skeleton, and Brain Drain. And of course, to make it more interesting, I will be using 2 elements per alien. Not like combining 2 elements with one single alien. Why 2 elements per alien, you ask? Well, because I just had so many ideas. And it's my video, whatever I say goes. Now, I originally planned on making this a single video, but, for time constraints, I decided to make this a 2-parter. So, part 1 will be covering the canonical aliens, and part 2 will be covering the non-canonical ones. Anyway, enough yapping, let's get to it. Dawn descends to dusk. As you traverse through the darkness, you sense the pernicious presence of the shambling shadow, Penumbra. So starting off with Penumbra, the result of Ghost Freak imbued with the element of darkness. In terms of the design and inspiration, I pretty much lean towards a type of ghost known as the Shadow People. These are some of the most common types of apparitions, and let me tell you, these are not the kind of things you want in your house. Or anywhere near you for that matter. As their name suggests, Shadow People are basically disembodied silhouettes. So if you see a shadow walking around but don't see anyone making said shadow, chances are that's a shadow person you're looking at. It's said if you see a dark blur in the corner of your vision, only to find nothing, or if you feel like you're being watched, only to, again, find nothing, then that means a shadow person is haunting you. Not much is known about the Shadow People, but anyone who had alleged encounters with these damn things have anything but positive things to say. Seriously, look these things up online. It is some of the eeriest shit you'll ever come across. Seriously, if I saw one of these things in my house, I would be hauling ass, screaming at the top of my lungs like a banshee, and never looking back. Anyway, getting back on topic. Since this is Ghost Freak infused with the element of darkness, I figured a shadow person type form would make sense. The design is somewhat simple, yet solid. All in all, I really do like how this went out. You gotta admit, this guy does look sick looking. Alright, now onto the powers and weakness section. For retained powers, these include intangibility, invisibility, intangibility infusion, invisibility infusion, stroke inducement, consciousness removal, sharp claws, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced speed, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, mana absorption immunity, sunlight immunity, glowing eyes, night vision, electronic disruption, chill inducement, smoke-like form, density shifting, regeneration, and darkness empowerment. New powers include shadow merging, body possession via shadow merging, umbra kinesis, which is darkness manipulation, shadow animation, shadow interaction, shadow camouflage, shapeshifting, nemesis form, meaning he could take on the form of someone's worst fears, inaudibility, which is a fancy way of saying soundlessness, inaudibility infusion, meaning he can make anyone or anything as inaudible as he is, fear inducement, sleep paralysis inducement, shadow constructs, vocal replication, voice masking, hallucikinesis, which is basically illusion manipulation, hallucination solidification, fear perception, fear detection, phoboscience, meaning he knows everything about fear, dread, horror, and nightmares, and light absorption. Yes, that was a lot to unpack. Now, as far as weaknesses are concerned, retained weaknesses include a possession limit, neutralize intangibility and invisibility, body possession rejection, and ineffective body possession. New weaknesses include ineffective fear inducement and ineffective hallucikinesis. So yeah, all in all, with Darkness, we managed to turn one of my favorite aliens of the Ben 10 franchise into something that is equally disturbing and haunting. If you weren't afraid of the dark before, well, you are now. But this is just only round 1 for the alien Grim Grinning Ghost. On to round 2. Silence fills the vast and empty graveyard, but the air is then filled by the ghastly groans of the frightful phantom, Screamfest. Next up, we have Screamfest, the result of Ghost Freak infused with the element of spirit. And in a similar manner to Overgrowth in the first video, this guy is basically a more powerful version of Ghost Freak after being infused with his own element. For the overall design, I pretty much took inspiration from Zscair in both Omniverse and the original series, including his beefed up form when under the darkness of space, as well as the Phantom from the first Kingdom Hearts game. I wanted to make it look as grotesque and freakishly horrifying as possible. Starting with the head, I positioned it right side up instead of upside down and made it look more like a human skull. I gave him 2 eye sockets instead of 1, the hole in the center being a nasal cavity, and of course for a creepy visual aesthetic, I decided to remove the mouth. I also wanted to keep the purplish magenta eye color that the original series Ghost Freak had. I just thought it was a really cool color. I put spikes on the elbows and shoulder areas because I just thought it was a really cool aesthetic, as well as a further tie-in to Zscair in his powered-up form when under the cover of darkness. For the hands, I made them a sickly purple color along with giving them bony finger-like claws. Now in the chest area, I decided to give him a fully functioning mouth, complete with a set of razor-sharp teeth to boot. Well, I say mouth, it's more like a pseudo-mouth, let's call it that way. It looks like a mouth, but it isn't actually one. It's more or less of an opening and closing chest cavity. Now, the inspiration for that, I'm gonna have to give a fair warning of gore and violence, so if you're not a huge fan of that, then I'll leave a timestamp here. I took a little bit of inspiration from that defibrillator scene from John Carpenter's The Thing, where the guy's chest splits open into a sharp-toothed mouth. I could have used footage, but, I'm afraid of copyright, and I am an absolute bitch when it comes to horror movies, especially one as gory as this, so I used a GIF instead. Now, the hood, which is actually a protective layer of skin, is more of a dark gray in color and still retains the black vein that OG series Ghost Freak has. And yes, I decided to give him a hood, basically as a nod to Zscair's design in Omniverse. Essentially, I took Ben's creepiest alien Ghost Freak and turned him into a macabre mess that will definitely leave you pissing your pants and dying of a heart attack shortly afterward. Alright, on to powers and weaknesses. For retained powers, and this one is quite long, so just bear with me, these include invisibility, intangibility, intangibility infusion, invisibility infusion, stroke inducement, body possession, consciousness removal, tentacles, thorn generation via tentacles, flight, levitation, sharp claws, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced speed via flight, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, mana absorption immunity, glowing eye, movable eye, night vision, telepathy, telekinesis, electronic disruption, chill inducement, smoke-like form, density shifting, regeneration, removable skin, skin storage, sentient DNA, energy beams, enhanced telekinesis, darkness empowerment, and skull rotation. Now for new powers, these include opening and closing chest cavity, telepathic illusions, dream viewing, ectokinesis, aka ectoplasm manipulation, immortality, inaudibility, inaudibility infusion, inaudorosity infusion, fear inducement, teleportation, and ectokinetic shapeshifting. Yeah, best of luck trying to sleep whenever you try to confront this guy. Hopefully you got some silver bullets and wolfsbane in hand, because our next entry involves the alien lycanthrope himself.
Night Howler.
A lunar eclipse hangs high in the night sky. You run through the thick woods from the beast of the blood moon, Night Howler. Here we have the lunar lichen, Night Howler, the result of Benwolf combined with the element of the moon. Yes, I'm using his original name Benwolf because I really like the name better than Blitzwolfer. Since Benwolf is of course based on the werewolf, I decided to go all out on the werewolf inspiration by adding the moon element into it. This is also a nod to how in actual folklore, werewolves become wolves or human-wolf hybrids when exposed to the light of a full moon. Now, much like Benwolf, Night Howler does retain the werewolf design, that being an anthropomorphic wolf, albeit with a few differences and changes. One of the main ones being the color palette. Rather than going with simply gray, I decided I went for a more darker blackish gray with a deep red underbelly. The coloring is actually a tie-in with the lunar eclipse, or sometimes referred to as a blood moon. This is a play on the fact that in some mythologies, a werewolf is said to become even more blood-crazed and feral when under the light of a blood moon. Although logically speaking, a lunar eclipse should weaken or negate the werewolf curse. Anyhow, the body shape isn't nearly too different compared to Benwolf, although he now has 4 clawed fingers and toes instead of just 3, and he no longer has the chunky tendril hair. Also, I decided to give him a pair of regular tattered pants instead of a white bodysuit. You know, just to keep on par with the werewolf theme. The eye coloring has changed from green to red, and of course his muzzle no longer has the quadruple hinged jaws that regular Benwolf has. But again, not too different compared to Benwolf. Now on to powers and weaknesses. For retained powers, these include Sonic Howls, Sonic Redirection, Sonic Repulsion, Enhanced Smelling, Enhanced Hearing, Sharp Claws, Sharp Teeth, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Durability, Enhanced Jumping, Enhanced Reflexes, Prehensile Tail, Quadrupedalism, and Night Vision. New powers include Moon Empowerment, Containment Immunity, Claw Retraction, Wall Scaling via Claws, Compass Sense, Environmental Adaptation, and Temperature Regulation. Now as far as weaknesses go, inherited weaknesses include Sensitive Hearing, Hypnosis Vulnerability, and Corruptora Vulnerability. New weaknesses include Sensitive Hearing and Lunar Eclipse-induced Feral Mind. What that last weakness means is that when under a lunar eclipse, his primal instincts start taking a hold of him. Honestly, I like to see this guy duke it out with Werewolf Van Helsing and Jacob from Twilight. I would pay big bucks to see that. Through the crippling cold and wailing winds, your blood runs cold as you glimpse upon the terror of the tundra, Wendingo. Okay, so for this one, I decided to go for something a little bit different. So the werewolf in the original series of Ben 10 was mistaken as a Yenaldushi.
A Yenaldushi, Navajo werewolf. I thought they only existed in folklore. Their presence is a sign of pure evil.
The term Yenaldushi is another name for a creature we know as the Skinwalker. In Navajo legend, Skinwalkers were shape-shifting witches who gained the ability to shape-shift into various animals. Skinwalkers are not benevolent by any means, and they were heavily feared by the Navajo people. Actually, they're still feared to this very day. Seriously, ask one of the Navajo about the Skinwalkers and they'll most likely not say a word or avoid the subject entirely, because they fear that by doing so, it will easily attract the Skinwalkers' attention. In a way, Skinwalkers are somewhat comparable to werewolves, as they're both humans who have the ability to shapeshift into animal form. The fact that they took the European werewolf and blended it with Navajo myth was kind of a cool idea in my opinion. So I took a similar route in taking inspiration from another Native American mythological beast. In this case, I took inspiration of the Wendigo, a creature feared by the Algonquin people. Now, when one hears the word Wendigo, this is what crosses our minds, though that is more of a modern description of the Wendigo. And even though that is already nightmare-inducing to look at, the actual description of the Wendigo is something much worse. This is what a Wendigo actually looks like. Now, for those who may not be familiar, Wendigos are basically the result of people becoming monsters after succumbing to cannibalism. Yeah, these damn things make Jeffrey Dahmer look like a saint. They go from regular people to a crossbreed bastard child of Gollum for Lord of the Rings and that creepypasta The Rake. And if being driven by cannibalism wasn't already bad enough, these things are practically insatiable. No matter how much flesh and blood they consume, they can never get enough. But getting back on topic, I pretty much took inspiration from both the modern day description of the Wendigo as well as the more accurate description. Plus, when I look at modern day renditions of the Wendigo, it does kinda look werewolf-like. Now, you're probably wondering, why is this a result of Ben Wolf combined with the element of ice? See, while Wendigos do embody cannibalism, they also embody famine, greed, and of course, the frigid winters. They are even said to have hearts made out of ice. So Wendigos are quite literally cold-hearted. Now, Wendingo doesn't have an icy heart, but he does have ice spikes on his arms and shoulders, as well as some icy protrusions that look like ribs. Now, for the color palette, I pretty much went with a combination of white, bluish gray, as well as a bit of cornflower blue. For clothing, I basically give him a loincloth. The body frame I made a bit more slender and frail, as a way to further tie in his Wendigo inspiration. I made the arms a bit more elongated and gangly. The eye coloring is changed from green to a bright cyan blue, and of course, unlike with Night Howler, I decided to have Wendingo keep the quadruple hinge jaw that Ben Wolf has. Also, for anyone curious, Wendingo's name is a cross between Wendigo and of course the dingo. A dingo is a type of wild dog that is native to Australia. Yes, I know that sounds a bit contradictory for something with ice incorporated into its design, considering that Australia is sweat your balls off hot over there. Well, not that I would know, because I've never really been there. But it was the best I can come up with, okay, so just cut me some slack. Now on to powers and weaknesses. For retained powers, these include Sonic Howls, Sonic Redirections, Sonic Propulsion, Enhanced Smelling, Enhanced Hearing, Sharp Claws, Sharp Teeth, Enhanced Jumping, Enhanced Reflexes, Wall Scaling, Prehensile Feet, Prehensile Tail, Quadrupedalism, and Night Vision. For new powers, these include Cryokinesis, aka Ice Manipulation, Freezing Breath, Wind Breath, Ice Constructs, Cryokinetic Touch, Ice Shard Spit, Enhanced Speed, Enhanced Agility, Contaminant Immunity, Enhanced Dexterity, Cold Immunity, Enhanced Lung Capacity, Powerful Bite, Claw Retraction, Mouth Expansion, Solid Matter Ingestion, Enhanced Stomach Capacity, stomach heat insulation, and vocal replication. As for weaknesses, retained ones include sensitive hearing, hypnosis vulnerability, and corruptor vulnerability. Basically the same ones as Night Howler. New weaknesses include heat vulnerability, limited strength, limited durability, and high metabolism. That last weakness, the high metabolism one, basically his metabolism is very, very high. As a result, he burns much more calories than an average human can, which in turn equals a very big appetite. I like to see Goku from Dragon Ball outeat this guy. Anyways, hope you brought some sunscreen because we're about to head to warmer climates with our next two entries.
Desert Storm.
As the winds howl, a mighty sandstorm ensues. Through the sandy veil, you catch a glimpse of the sinister silhouette of the Demon of the Dunes, Desert Storm. Get ready to walk like an Egyptian with Desert Storm, the result of Snarrow infused with the element of Earth. Now, the body shape, I may or may not have took a bit of inspiration from Iragamaguri's Shackle Regalia Mark II from Kill la Kill. Also, to keep up the Egyptian theme that Snarrow had, I pretty much took a bit of inspiration from the Egyptian pharaohs as well. Now, I think the body of a Thep Kufan is supposed to be hollow if the mummy from the original series was of any indication. I mean, it's composed of a shell-like head with a bodysuit composed of bandages. So I figured I'd make his bandaged body more layered. Basically, his body is composed of layer upon layer upon layer of bandages. So of course, this added layering of bandages makes him a lot more bulky compared to a regular Thep Kufan. And of course, for an added bit of flair, I decided to give him various armor pieces comprised of metal, mainly gold and bronze, as well as stone. More specifically, sandstone. So yeah, not really much changes. He's basically just a bulkier version of Snarrow. Now moving on to powers and weaknesses. Retained powers include bandage generation, bandage ensnarement, sharp bandages, body alteration, unraveling, regeneration, elasticity, flight via unraveling, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, underwater survivability, waterproof bandages, laser resistance, removable face, glowing eyes, body storage, bandage cushion, and night vision. New powers include Simokinesis, or sand manipulation, enhanced digging, sandstorm creation, sand constructs, sand solidification, sand whips, sand spit, seismic sense, sand absorption, and sandstone armor generation. Now, the reason I went with sand abilities is because, well, Egypt and the Middle East are mostly desert for miles. And sand is associated with the earth element, so it seemed fitting. Now, for weaknesses, retained ones include bandage entanglement, being frozen by liquid nitrogen, hypnosis vulnerability, and corruptora vulnerability. New weaknesses include having a below average stamina, he cannot control sand that is wet or solid, and his Simokinesis is negated when sand is infused with iron or gold dust. So yeah, when you're walking around in a desert, you might want to keep your eyes peeled for this guy.
Inferno.
A thick veil of smoke shrouds our vision. From a plume of Faustian flames emerges the fiery fiend, Inferno. Now onto Inferno, the result of Snarrow infused with the element of fire. For this one, I heavily based him on the Jinn, or better known as the Genie. Jinn are mystical beings that are well known throughout the Middle East and surrounding countries. They're even prevalent in Islamic culture and beliefs. It's stated in the Quran that Allah made man from clay and the Jinn from smokeless fire. Hence why I use the element of fire for this. The lower half, I pretty much replaced the legs with a fiery tail as a way to reference the wispy tails that various genies in cartoons have. I also replaced the Egyptian aesthetic for a more Arabic one. The inside of his body is also composed of fire, and the upper body looks no different compared to Snarrow, as it still retains the mummy-like visage. So yeah, don't be expecting 3 wishes from this genie. Now on to powers and weaknesses. Retained powers are bandage generation, bandage ensnarement, sharp bandages, body alteration, unraveling, small space maneuvering via unraveling, regeneration, elasticity, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, removable face, glowing eyes, and bandage cushion. For new powers, these include pyrokinesis or fire control, fire absorption, fire constructs, fire transportation, fire or heat amplification, fireproof bandages, pyrokinetic touch, flame enhanced punches, pyrokinetic flight, enhanced speed via pyrokinetic flight, fire and heat immunity, ectonoric possession immunity, limited corruptor immunity, ice and cold resistance, light generation, heat generation, smoke generation, fire breath, fire spit, and levitation. Now for the weaknesses, retained ones include bandage ensnarement, being frozen by liquid nitrogen, and hypnosis vulnerability. New weaknesses include ineffective pyrokinesis, extinguishable body, collateral fire damage, reignition limit, and water vulnerability. So yeah, if anyone can crank up the heat, it's this mean genie. Get ready to strap on your rubber gloves and goggles because we're about to go mad scientist for our next 2 entries. The sky goes dark with leaden clouds. The roar of thunder and flash of lightning foretells the coming of the electrifying enigma, Mortal Coil. Now on to Mortal Coil, the result of Frankenstrike infused with the element of electricity. Yep, another case of an alien enhanced by its own element. Starting off with the color palettes, the skin tone I made a bit more of a jaundice yellow color, while the scars on his body are more of a tannish brown. The metallic parts on his body are more of a copper tone. And speaking of that, the metallic parts on his body are in fact made of copper, which is fitting because copper is a conductive metal, and the fact that it's used in power transmission and generation, building wiring, telecommunication, and electrical and electronic products. Well, copper also has uses that don't involve electricity and power, but you get the point. Now, I replaced the 2 Tesla coils in favor for a single large electrical apparatus. And of course, as a way to let my inner 90s kid out, I also took the liberty of incorporating the plasma globe into its design, mainly on the apparatus and on the top of his head. In the center of his belt, I gave him a little dial, which allows him to control the amplitude of his electrical shocks. This can range from a minute shock like when you're getting shocked by an electrical fence.
Yeah?
Yep.
This one. Ah, fuck. It's electric.
You're not supposed to touch it.
Don't touch it because it's
Why
electrified.
do you say that?
To something as intense as getting struck by lightning. In his hair and sideburns, I give him a little white streak as a sort of reference to the Bride of Frankenstein. And of course, I replaced the green glow with the purple one. I just thought that the purple lightning that Dr. Victor used was really cool. Needless to say, any bad guy that goes against him is in for a shock. on to powers and weaknesses. For retained powers, these are bioelectrokinesis, electricity enhanced punches, electricity waves, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced jumping, enhanced speed, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, fire and heat resistance, technological manipulation when plugged into technology, electromagnetism, and night vision. New powers include electricity absorption, electricity redirection, radiolocation, electrokinetic levitation, electrokinetic flight, energy empowerment, electroportation, electricity immunity, technological destruction, voltage alteration via belt dial, electrical telekinesis, electrical telepathy, electricity infusion, force field generation, and electricity breath. For weaknesses, retained ones include electricity absorption vulnerability, can be constrained in tight spaces due to his large size, ectoneurite possession vulnerability, external electricity vulnerability, and corruptora vulnerability. New weaknesses include ineffective electrokinesis, is vulnerable to shocking himself when in water or due to electrical redirection, can be insulated by rubber sheet blankets, and can be trapped in non-conductive material. No doubt this guy will give quite an electrifying experience.
Boo! You stink! Cyber Terror.
Flesh, wires, and metal all combine into one. The rise of a new race is heralded by the birth of the technological titan, Cyber Terror. Now onto Cyber Terror, the result of Frankenstrike infusing with the element of technology. Now, in terms of inspiration, I went for a combination of Frankenstrike's concept art as well as the Borg from Star Trek, basically transitioning from an alien Frankenstein to a full-blown cyberpunk-level cyborg. I even gave him a full-blown prosthetic arm and leg just to further add on to the cyborg theme, along with a few other cybernetic parts on his body. Now, for the head and face, I pretty much made it somewhat like Dr. Victor from the original series, as a way to tie in Frankenstrike's origins from Dr. Victor, since Ben obtained Frankenstrike by scanning Dr. Victor's DNA. That is until Omniverse came in and changed all that with a fucking retcon! Anyway, moving on. Plus, whenever I look at it, it does kind of remind me of Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator. The skin tone I pretty much changed to a purplish gray color, and of course to further add on to the cyberpunk theme, I gave him glowing circuitry lines on his body. I changed the purple glow to an aqua green color, and of course on the back area I replaced the Tesla coils for these two tower-like protrusions that I practically based off of old desktop computer towers. For those who owned a desktop computer at one point, you know what I'm talking about. And I also changed the positioning of the bolts to the prosthetic arm. Now for powers and weaknesses. Retained powers include energy beams, enhanced strength, enhanced durability, enhanced jumping, enhanced speed, enhanced reflexes, space survivability, technokinesis or technology control, and technological manipulation when plugged into technology. New powers are cyberpathy, technological disassembly, technological repairment, hyperintelligence, cybermind, advanced analysis, advanced calculations, levitation, technological expertise, technological modification, technology creation, weapon manifestation via prosthetic arm, technological mimicry, improvisational technology creation, and digitalized vision. For weaknesses, retained ones are being constrained in small spaces by his large size, ectoneurite possession of vulnerability, external electricity vulnerability, and corruptora vulnerability. New weaknesses include sensitivity to electromagnetic pulses, water vulnerability, and sonic scream vulnerability. 4 canonical aliens down, 1 more to go. Better grab some holy water, garlic, wooden stakes, and better hope you got a cross with ya, for our final 2 entries include a certain alien vamp.
Hellucard.
From beyond the vile flames and the tormented screams of the damned, the deeper recesses of the condemned chasm is ruled by the sovereign of sin, Hellucard. Finally, onto our last two entries. The first one being the literal Hellraiser Hellucard, the result of Vampire being infused with the element of Hell. For the design, I pretty much went with a combination of Spawn from Hellspawn, Don Devimon from Digimon, as well as the Devil himself. Also, he does kind of look like Devilman from Devilman Crybaby, which honestly, I was not intending that. For the color palettes, I pretty much went with black and dark red as a way to keep up with the devil theming. I also give him a cape that also acts as demonic wings, and of course for the hell of it, I also give him a devil's tail. And I also changed the eye color from green to a bright red. Not gonna lie, this guy looks like a real edgelord. Eat your fucking heart out, Ghost Rider. Now on to powers and weaknesses. Retained powers include Hypnosis, Hypnosis Resistance, Corruptor of Projectiles, Energy Absorption, Life Force Draining, Space Survivability, Flight, Infrared Vision, Night Vision, Sharp Fangs, Sharp Claws, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Durability, Enhanced Agility, Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Speed via Flight, Enhanced Stamina, Enhanced Jumping, Object Possession via Corruptoras, and Undead Possession via Corruptoras. New powers involve Infernal Pyrokinesis, aka Hellfire Control, Hellfire Attacks, Hellfire Generation, Hellfire Constructs, Penance Stare, Evil Eye, which is an ability that inflicts harm on somebody through visual contact, Prehensile Tail, Hellfire Breath, Mental Possession via Corruptoras, Memory Erasure via Corruptoras, Memory Alteration via Corruptoras, and Telepathy via Corruptoras. For weaknesses, retained ones include Vulnerability to Sunlight, Ineffective Hypnosis or Corruptoras, an uncontrollable life force draining urge, and of course the Corruptors are destroyed upon detransformation. New weaknesses include Vulnerability to Silver, Vulnerability to Water, Allergic reactions to Garlic, and Allergic reactions to Sage. Not gonna lie, this vampire variant is pretty badass. But now let's see what's in store for the second one.
Veratu.
The silence of night is filled with a macabre melody. As you go out to investigate, you are then entranced by the viperous voice of the sinister siren, Veratu. Finally, rounding up for today, we have the monstrous mix master, Veratu. In terms of inspiration, I went with Ultimate Echo from Ben 10 Ultimate Alien, Lord Transel from Omniverse, and even Lord Decibel from the Ben 10 reboot. I made him fully robotic, much like Ultimate Echo, and I pretty much went with the color palettes of Lord Transel. Since he has no mouth, I gave him speakers on the palms of his hands and on his chest area. And of course, the green is replaced with the eerie purple color. And now, on for powers and weaknesses. For powers, retained ones involve Hypnosis Resistance, Sonic Explosions, Space Survivability, Flight, Night Vision, Sharp Claws, Enhanced Strength, Enhanced Durability, Enhanced Agility, Enhanced Reflexes, Enhanced Speed via Flight, Enhanced Stamina, and Enhanced Jumping. New powers include Audiokinesis or Sound Manipulation, Sonic Redirection, Sonic Combustion, Sonic Force Fields, Levitation, Echolocation, Cell Phone Sound Wave Transmission, Radio Sound Wave Transmission, Sound Wave Absorption, Sonic Hypnosis, Siren Song, Vocal Replication, Audiographic Memory, and Absolute Pitch. which is the ability to recognize and replicate any sound to the exact pitch without even hearing it. As far as weaknesses go, he only has one inherited weakness, and that is ineffective hypnosis. New weaknesses include loud sonic noises that can harm allies, electricity vulnerability, and magnetism vulnerability. I'll bet this guy would kill it as a radio disc jockey. Sadly though, this wraps up part 1. If you want to see part 2, which thankfully won't be as long as this video was, then hit like, subscribe, and feel free to hit that notification bell so you'll stay up to date with more videos. Until then,